Here we go. The Great Deduction. Mystery Man's name. First of all, we must ask ourselves on what business you ventured to this pawnbrokery today. You claim to have followed this pickpocketeer, having had the redemption ticket stolen from you on the street. But that is most certainly a lie. The real truth is something quite different. As revealed by that which you hold in your hand. Yes, what brought you to this shop in the first place is a staff recruitment flyer. The piece of paper in your hand is a staff wanted advertisement from this very shop. Yet even the most unobservant would soon realize that a man of your appearance is no need of such employ. In other words, there is some ulterior motive for your actions. The cane, which you unwittingly clutched to your person, exhibits an incontrovertible contradiction. What utter rot! I've had this cane for years! The contradiction of which I speak, of course, is a missing furrow. The end of any walking cane would be terminated with a metal furrow to protect the wooden tip. And yet, a detailed analysis shows the wooden tip of this stick to be utterly bare. Therefore, there is only one conclusion. The rod that you hold in your hand, which appears to be a walking cane, is in fact no cane at all. You recall, sir, is something wrong? And in your recalling, you inadvertently facilitate the answer of the next conundrum to present itself. Namely, what is the truth behind this rod you bear? Yes, the reaction betrays the truth. The handle, which you evidently would like to conceal, is the key to understanding this riddle, you see. From the moment I saw it, my suspicions were aroused. What walking cane demands such a stout handle, mused I. But of course, as I said, this is no walking cane. No, that rod? Is the broken handle of a shovel. What? Are you insane? And now, having determined this undeniable truth, the conclusion is clear. Your true motive for coming here was to take employment at this establishment in order to excavate the ground beneath the premises. What a calculated crime you have conceived, sir. A wickedly calculated crime. The tunnel underneath the pawnbroker. What a crazy conclusion. Anyways. Great crime. Now, Mr. Benedict, let us continue. For we must expose the details of this elaborate crime you have in the planning. This is utterly absurd. It's just that I, gentlemen, intend to excavate the ground beneath this pawnbroker with a broken shovel. What on earth do you propose I would expect to find here? The head movement. Some long-forgotten treasure, I suppose. Save for such a fanciful theory, what possible reason would I have to do as you say? Oh, but there's ample reason. As you are only too well aware, Mr. Benedict. Ah, as your furtive glance is more telling than I could have hoped. Oops. What? Just consider what would motivate a man to infiltrate a shop such as this and covertly dig beneath its floor. The answer is revealed by the council notice on the counter to which your eyes are inadvertently drawn. The letter gives notice to public works to be carried out in the local area. And according to the enclosed plan of the upcoming sewerage works, beneath this shop runs a sewer that adjoins another, one that runs under the bank, on the opposite side of the road. This madness has entered the sewers now, has it? By excavating the ground beneath our feet, you would gain access to the underway, to the waterway, that flows in very close proximity to the great vault of the financial institution opposite. What are you? In summary, sir, you devised a master plan to pull off an elaborate bank robbery by the dint of the underground tunnels. What? Master plan? Which brings us at last to the final chapter of this lurid scheme. With that plunder, did the thief hope to make off from the underground vault of the bank? Are you quite serious? Having consulted with Scotland Yard some days ago, I happen to know the answer. But naturally, the answer is no secret to you, is it, Mr. Benedict? I have no idea what you're talking about. Allow me to present a rather interesting piece of evidence. You see, this picture postcard tells us all we need to know. A postcard of the greatest exhibition? I'm afraid you've quite lost me. Currently in the final stages of preparation, the great exhibition will soon be underway. And the government has provided extra funds to complete its centerpiece, the Crystal Tower. Funds that currently sit in the vault of the bank on the other side of this road. Pardon? Yes, the considerable crime you have been contemplating is the theft of which sits in the vault of that bank, the special reserve funds for the great exhibition. Of course, that is top secret police information, so keep it under your hat, please. To seal the great exhibition's reserve funds. This concludes Herlock Sholmes' great deduction of this pawnbroking puzzle. Mr. Sholmes? Well, Mr. Naruhodo, an impressively upbeat deduction for a detective racked with loneliness, do you not agree? Was it true what you said about the bank of the road, and what was in its vault? Indeed, though few know of its existence, it's one of the government's most securely guarded secrets. Gregson told me in the strictest confidence. But you just announced it to everyone here. Rather loudly, in fact. Ah. And if it's such a big secret, how would Mr. Benedict have come to find out about it? There can be but one explanation for that. Clearly it is because the man is a criminal. What if he didn't know anything about the money in the vault? If he is a criminal, as you said, then buying a brand new shovel is sure to be the first thing he knows. He does now that you revealed the secret. Oh. Or if he doesn't. Maybe Mr. Winterbank will. He has already plenty of shovels here after all. Oh my life! I assure you I'm not so unscrupulous. Well, hopefully this has taught you a valuable lesson. Sensitive information must be handled with the utmost of care. One can never be sure that someone privy to secrets won't disclose them, and once the word is out, it's out. Perhaps I'll think twice before confiding in you next time, Mr. Sholmes. An excellent idea, Mr. Naruhodo. An excellent idea. Ho, 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 ho. Well then, Mr. Naruhodo, you know what to do, I'm sure. Yes, let's listen to that great deduction again and see if we can massage it into shape. Very well then, let's start once more from the beginning. Of Herlock Sholmes is magnificent, logic and reasoning spectacular. First of all, we must ask ourselves on what business you ventured to this pawnbrokery today. Okay, so we can skip this part. This is insane. This is the part we need to fix. So, by Mr. Sholmes' reasoning, Mr. Benedict came here in order to apply for a job so he could dig down the hole through the floor. Yes, in an attempt to tunnel into the sewers to gain access to the money in the vault of the bank across the road. But he wouldn't get very far with a broken shovel, would he? No, I think it's fair to say that his motives lie elsewhere. The question is, where? What did bring Mr. Benedict here at this particular point in time? Ah, the note. Scribbled writing. Oh, look at all the scribbled notes on the back of the flyer here. I don't believe it. What is it? Listen to what it says. Name, Gino Lestrade, height, 5'2". Green cap, scruffy waistcoat, grubby white shirt, blue satchel racking. It's a detailed description of Miss Lestrade. Goodness. And there's even a sketch of her hat and all. Although, if he showed it to her, she'd fire that smoke grenade launcher in his face for sure. And look, the details of the shop have been written down here too. Winterbank's Pawnbrokery, Baker Street, redemption deadline, 15th April. Which is today's date. Why would Mr. Benedict have all that information scrawled on the back of that piece of paper? Info about Miss Lestrade. It's a proper Englishman gentleman's cane, isn't it? Look at the beautifully polished brass on the handle. Yes, but Mr. Sholmes is right. It's not the sort of handle you should usually see on a cane. Perhaps the latest London fashion. I mean, that's just guesswork, of course. Perhaps Perhaps you could adopt the cane, Mr. Naruto? It might rather suit you. I have a feeling you might argue with the sword around my waist. I wonder why people had canes back in the day. Like, just a fashion item, or... Oops, I need to press present instead. Bling, bling, bling. Yes, what brought you to the shop in the first place is the info about Miss Lestrade. Quite so, my dear fellow. It would appear that the writing on the sketch on the reverse of the flyer pertained to the pickpocket Miss Lestrade and to Mr. Windbank's pawnbroker here. Ah! You originally told us that you had merely given chase after Miss Lestrade stole the redemption ticket from you. But that, sir, is a thinly veiled lie. It is the information on the back of the flyer that led you here today, by which I mean here to the Windebeck's pawnbrokery, and today, the redemption deadline of that overcoat. So, you waited outside for the young girl matching the description you have written down to arrive. Huh. And you have gone to some lengths to hide the reason for your pursuit of Miss Lestrade. In other words, there's some ulterior motive for your actions. Okay. So now we go on to the next part. What is a furl? It's a metal cap commonly found on the end of a cane, Mr. Naruto. Ah, the bit that makes the nice clacking sound on the pavement. Yes, exactly. And Mr. Sholmes is right. It appears to be missing on his cane. But it doesn't actually look broken, does it? No, it doesn't. Though the gentleman certainly did recoil when Mr. Sholmes identified the cane as suspicious. In other words, there's some secret about the cane that Mr. Benedict would rather we don't know. I bet it's the initials, right? Initially. Look here, Mrs. Sato. There's some letters on the handle. Ah, yes, those must be initials, I think. In the West, it's customary for people to engrave their belongings with the first letters of their names. So, Herlock Sholmes would be HS, you mean? That's right. And the initials on this cane, obviously... Oh. AG. Why does it feel, though, that's not quite right? So it must be this, right? It doesn't match. Who made up the name Eggs and Benedict anyways? Contradiction of which I speak, of course, is the initial. A most astute observation, wouldn't you say, Mr. Eggert Benedict? I said Eggs and not Eggert. Same thing. We are led to believe, sir, that your initials are E.B. Yet in the most possessive manner, you have in your grasp a cane bearing the initials of A.G. An incontrovertible contradiction indeed, would you not agree? Oh. You said that before you had that cane for years. So don't try to tell us that you borrowed it from a friend or found it in the park. In short, though you hold yourself to be a gentleman, you have withheld your true name. Alright, and we're on to the next part. Let's get into the bare bones of what happened here. Miss Lestrade redeemed that fine-looking overcoat. Now a mysterious man has appeared, introducing himself with a fake name and claiming that the overcoat belongs to him. But we know that he actually identified Miss Lestrade from a written description, which suggests that everything else he told us is untrue. So what we need to do here is somehow prove that the overcoat cannot possibly belong to him. Okay, so he's looking at something, right? Oh. Split seam. Oh, the seam on the shoulder is coming apart. Look! So it is. You know, a moment ago when Mr. Benedict was surprised by something that was said, I thought I heard him make a rather strange noise. It sounded a bit like a tiny growl. Now I think it was probably the sound of his seam ripping open. If you look closely, it does seem to be a very tight fit. The sleeves are stretched to bursting, and he wouldn't have a hope of fastening it at the front. If we were to run around it, I'm sure the whole thing would fall apart. That I'd like to see. Sorry? So how can we make Mr. Benedict run around? She's really giving this some thought. Well, because it doesn't fit him, right? It's too small. The split seam, which you evidently like to conceal, is the key to understanding this riddle, you see. Ah. Yes, because the overcoat is rather obviously a full fit. Having forced it over your broad shoulders, the seam is already breaking apart. My suspicions were aroused from the outset. When you so baldly lied about your name and so boldly waylaid this pickpocket. Ah. This catalogue of untruths has all been for one very specific purpose. To steal the article that the young girl redeemed from Mr. Winterbank. But what really irks me is this. A considerable crime I initially imagined had been considerably curtailed. Alright, on to the next half. Let us continue. Alright. The next part we need to fix is what he was looking at on the table. The direction of the detection must change rather dramatically now, I think. Yes, no more talk of tunneling into the sewers. Which is a pity because it all sounded rather exciting. Anyway, you can't deny that this mysterious gentleman did know the watchword. Yes, Professor. If you didn't know that word, Mr. Winterbank would never allow you to redeem the article. Or, looking at it another way, if you did know that word, Mr. Winterbank would allow you to redeem the article, whether it was yours or not. So the question is, could this gentleman have found the watchword out somehow? Old lamp. Noteless. Look at this, Mr. Sato. Ah, it appears to be a memo that Mr. Winterbank has scribbled to himself. Let's see. What does it say? Oh, Professor. Mr. Winterbank must make a note of his watchwords his customers give him right before their eyes. And in an alarmingly clear script as well. Oh dear, I don't know where to look. Who knows what other secrets I might see? Pawnbroker's revolver. This is Mr. Winterbank's gun. Yes, loaded with only one bullet, he said. It would appear that being a pawnbroker is a very life or death profession. That might just be this particular establishment. Okay, I guess there's something else we're looking at here. So is it the notelet, maybe? Because he just looked over, right? The method is revealed by the notelet on the counter to which your eyes are inadvertently drawn. Yes, the broker here follows the same procedure whenever a customer comes to redeem an article. He asks the customer for the watchword, then notes down the response uttered on the notelet he has to hand. And he consults his ledger and confirms whether or not the watchword matches that of the article in question. I would expect nothing less of a diligent pawnbroker. But his diligence clearly has its disadvantages. What are you talking about? It is increasingly apparent that you were present in this shop before your accusation against Miss Lestrade. In all likelihood, you followed her inside and then observed her talking to Mr. Winterbank. And when the diligent broker made a note of the watchword, as is his common practice, you observed him writing the word professor on the notelet beside the ledger. And that, sir, was the master plan you devised to steal the pawned article from the young Miss Lestrade. Master plan? And the last part. So let's see what he actually wanted to do. The articles we're talking about are the overcoat and the music box disc that was in one of the pockets. But according to Mr. Winterbank, isn't even worth a penny. And yet this man went to such lengths to steal them. Why? I wonder if perhaps we already have the evidence we need to explain it, Mr. Naruhodo. Could we really? I'd better have a thorough look through all the evidence we collected so far. So it must be the note on the behind it, right? You see, this music box disc tells us all we need to know. What's that? On the back. It reads, for McGilded. Mr. Magnus McGilded. The unfortunate philanthropist who perished in curious circumstances at the Old Bailey 2 months ago. prominent man in London, though his loan-mongering demonstrated a lack of scruples. So, you're an associate of his, are you? Or perhaps a subordinate? Mr. McGilded was a man of unusually small stature. In fact, it matches a stick. Haha. He was precisely the right size for that overcoat that you squeeze yourself into. Ah. Your true identity remains shrouded in mystery, Mr. Eggert Benedict. Oh, okay, so the coat was his. But the final conclusion here is crystal clear. The reason you came to this pawnbrokery today was to retrieve an article left behind by the late Magnus McGilded. Oh. Mr. McGilded is her dad. Well, well, Mr. Magnus McGilded. Not a name I expected to hear in these circumstances. Mr. Sholmes, I'm afraid there's something very troubling on my mind. Pray tell, Miss Usato. Well, according to what Mr. Windibank told us earlier, today was the final day on which the coat could have been redeemed, was it not? Yes, ma'am, that is correct. Today would be precisely 2 months since it was first deposited. Well, today's the 15th of April, so 2 months ago today would have been 15th of February, so that's right. It's all carefully recorded in my ledger. Deposited at 10:30 p.m., I see. What? But that suggests... Yes, 15th of February. It was precisely on the day on which the omnibus murder took place. 10:30 in the evening. It was precisely at the time which terrible events were unfolding. Holy moly. Suggestive is not the word. It would seem the matter is entirely beyond a coincidence. You are, of course, at liberty to make whatever outlandish deductions you choose. However... Oh my gosh. I must insist you hand over the music box disc now. It would be a terrible shame for you to return to your native land in a box. Ugh. What do I do? I mean, we have to, right? He could shoot me at any moment. I hate to give in, but what other choice do I really have here? Mr. Windibank! This is my shop. I can't allow any harm to come to my customers. If that were to happen, I should have to take my own life. Mr. Windibank, no! Alright, that's enough. Inspector Gregson! Inspector? That's right, Sunshine. The alarm was raised on one of our dedicated emergency lines, so we got here as fast as we could. Now, what's this all about, eh? Oh, praise be, you're here at last. I was moments away from forfeiting my own life in my very own establishment. It would seem you have the upper hand. Give me back that coat, you nerd. Okay. Right, you lot have got some explaining to do. I don't appreciate being bothered with some petty argy-bargy. Petty? Mr. Windibank nearly met with his end. Yeah, by his own gun, as far as I can tell. Oh dear. The whole Britain could have met its end if I don't get to the bottom of the case I'm supposed to be working on. What? What on earth is the case, Inspector? Spare no detail, Gregson. I might have said a little too much. No matter. It's nothing to do with you lot. Anyway, sir, you're going to have to come with me down to the station. But of course, Inspector. Oh my gosh. Oh, he's getting away. Get after him, lads. Whistle the beat officer, sir, too. Sir. He just went, woo, and ran away. Did a little spinny. There's been a spate of thefts at pawn shops around here recently, so we fitted emergency buttons underneath the counters for brokers to let us know when there's trouble. Oh, Inspector, I was very worried there for a while. Very worried indeed. Now then, Mr. Permanently in mourning. Oh, yes? I'll be taking that whatever it is of McGilden's down to the yard. Thank you very much. So hand it over. Oh, yes, of course. No, don't. Don't give it to him. That's mine, that is. It's mine. I'm sorry, miss. But anything belonging to McGilden has to be taken in as evidence now. As evidence? If the policeman demand something as evidence, my dear fellow, we have no choice but to capitulate. It's all yours, Inspector. And so, we handed over Mr. McGilden's disc over to Inspector Gregson, and were summarily turfed out of the shop and onto the street. To be continued. I feel like we're making a lot of progress, which is nice. Okay. 15th April, Baker Street. See, that's why I hate grown-ups. All they do is feed you a pack of lies and take stuff away from you. Oh really, Mr. Lestrade? Tell me, is that overcoat keeping you warm? What? Oh my, surely you were given that. Yeah, the deal let me keep it. After I'd looked daggers at him for long enough, it went through the pockets, and I said, go on then, have it, before telling me to scupper. Always pays off, giving people a look like you hate them. I can't help but feeling that it's going to get you into serious trouble one day. What I really wanted was that nice shiny disc, mind. The music box disc? But Mr. Winterbank said it was practically worthless. I think I'm gonna go around and have another bash. Give him a long art stare. I think not, Miss Lestrade. We shan't enter Winterbanks again today. Why not? That's not fair. It can't be helped, I'm afraid. The police are investigating the scene now and taking a statement from Mr. Winterbank. But that disc mine. I had the ticket for his coat, and it was in its coat pocket. There should be something else. Oh, that's what that rotten coat said, ain't it? Yes, he did mention something about another article, didn't he? Well then, that's mine too, whatever it is. Now she's really pushing her luck. Mr. Lestrade, I think it's time to admit defeat. You've had your haul for the day. Yeah, and it's all your fault, Sholmes. So what are our plans now? Will you dine with us this evening? Eh? Iris would be delighted to cook, I'm sure. And I might entertain you with a modest violin recital. Nota. Oh. What have I come around your place, eh? Have you lost your head or something? Oh dear, she's gone. Having revealed all of me quite unnecessarily, I might add. I can't help wondering. Perhaps she might turn up anyway. Interesting. Once she's had a chance to calm down, I think there's a good chance she'll decide to come. Very well then. I'll inform Iris to set a place for our potential guests at the dinner table this evening. And one more thing. I should be glad of your company later too. Sorry? I believe I will have a rather splendid surprise to show you. Oh, how exciting. What is it? You'll have to wait and see, Miss Susafo. Until later then. Interesting. Anything of interest? Look at all the different things in the window of the shop. Ah, that's Winterbanks, the pawnbrokery. It looks much smarter than pawnbrokers in Japan, doesn't it? Yes, you're right. I find pawn shops at home rather unapproachable, personally. Reminds me of cheerfully partying with my favorite fountain pen. I felt so miserable. What doesn't kill us makes us stronger, Mr. Nuttall, though. Anything of interest? Nope, nope, nope. This is our place, though. It's already been 2 months since we started taking lodgings here above Mr. Sholmes' office. Ah, Ah, so nice. I still can't quite believe it. I never expected things would turn out like this. Oh, I know. To actually be sharing a combination with the world's greatest detective. If I ever find myself before a court of law now, I will have not one regret. I don't know what you're talking about, but I'd be happy to defend you, of course. Okay, guess we're getting out of here. Oh, you're going back home, right? April, 3:46 p.m. Sholmes' suite. Ah, Susie and Reno, come in, come in. Good afternoon, Iris. Thank you so much for breakfast this morning. Oh, don't mention it. Goodness, look at the time already. Busy as always? I am. I'm preparing everything for dinner this evening. Already? You're obviously cooking something special, are you? Oh yes, after all, we have a special guest joining us. Guess who it is? Go on. Hehe, you'll never guess. Look at those little eyes of her shining. Oh dear, it is awkward when you already know the answer, isn't it? It's Ginny! Isn't that exciting? Oh, what a surprise! Yes, that's wonderful news. Wow, Iris seems overjoyed at the idea. I can't wait to learn some pickpocketing tricks from a real professional. Oh yes, that does sound like fun. I'm not sure that's entirely appropriate. Are you, Mr. Naruto? Are you, Mr. Naruto? By the way, Iris, what's Mr. Sholmes up to? Curly? Oh, he's been like that ever since he got back. Hello, Mr. Sholmes. I beg that you won't speak to me. Sorry? I don't know who you are, but kindly take your leave. As you can see, I'm not here. I don't know how to respond to that. I do apologize. When he gets like this, he's completely oblivious to everything. Yes, I see. Really, he behaves like a child sometimes, Hurley does. Mr. Sholmes and Iris have something of a parent and child relationship, don't they? Yes, except that Iris is clearly the parent here. Come to think of it. I wonder where her real parents are. What's the matter, Runa? You have ever such a funny look on your face. Oh, no, it's nothing. I know what it is. Why does this girl live here with Mr. Sholmes? You're wondering, am I right? How? How did you... Heh. Oh, Bruno, I can read you like a book. This girl is dangerous. Don't worry. You can ask me anything. I won't mind. So, by Ginny, you mean Miss Lestrade, the young girl from the McGilda case 2 months ago, right? Yes, wait, also stole my experimental smoke grenade launcher. Although, after the trial I invited her back here and they had dinner together. And now we're the best of friends. Oh, what a lovely tale. Yes, now if I bump into her on the street, she runs away as fast as she can. Oh. And I chase her down the back alleys. Interesting idea of friendship. Then I let her have the latest color smoke grenade I developed. Oh. There's so many beautiful colors in the world. Ginny wants me to make a whole rainbow. I suppose this means you let Mr. Stride keep the smoke grenade launcher, have you? Yes, that's right. I got bored of it anyway. Hurley always reacts the same when I shoot at him with it now. Poor Hurley. Ooh, I can't wait for Ginny to arrive. It's been too long since she last came over. I'm so excited. I just hope she does actually come. I'm sure you've been wondering why it is I live here with Hurley, haven't you? Well, it has crossed my mind. That and where are your real parents? My mummy and daddy aren't with me anymore. Mummy passed away when I was born. And at around the same time, my father. Well, he had to go to a faraway land because of one of the cases he and Hurley were working on. Oh. Wait a minute. Did you say he and Hurley? Yes. Daddy and Hurley were always solving mysterious cases together. She didn't mention that before. He wrote them all up in his diaries. That's what's in the metal chest over there. Really, he recorded them all. So, you mean it's true, Mr. Sholmes? Well, he did have a partner with whom he tackled some of his most taxing cases. Oh yes, I mean, it's always nice to have one, isn't it? So Mr. Sholmes' partner was your father? Exactly. Kelly told me I wasn't allowed to look in the chest. But it only made me want to look even more. So I opened it up. And you found your father's memoirs. Yes. So I asked Hurley, who wrote these? He nearly fell off his chair. But then he told me. That's when I found out that the author of all these accounts was my father. So his father was Mr. Sholmes' partner. I practically lived with Hurley all my life. I was tiny when he took me in. So it came as quite a shock when Hurley told me he wasn't really my daddy. I mean, it must have done. I wonder why Mr. Sholmes chose to tell you at such a young age. Hurley says it's because he wouldn't have been able to hide it from me. Oh? Well, having lived with Hurley all these years, you might say that his ways have rubbed off on me. There are some things I can just see. Especially lies. I know when most people are lying because they open their mouths before they open their mouths sometimes. Right. Anyway, I was so fascinated when I read Daddy's diaries. That's what inspired me to write The Adventures of Herlock Sholmes, actually. I'd always assumed Mr. Sholmes simply told you all those thrilling stories. Oh no, Hurley's hopeless like that. He forgets everything. As soon as he solves a case, it's all but vanishes from his mind. Oh, I see. The other day, it was so embarrassing. As usual, he totally forgot about the case he just solved. So the very next day, he gathered together all the people involved and proceeded to solve the case again. It was quite a shock for everyone. You can say that again. You share your father's surname, don't you, Iris? That's right, Wilson. Daddy is Dr. John H. Wilson. I learned from his diaries that he's a doctor of medicine, you see. That's what prompted me to study, so that I could earn a doctorate as well. Iris' father, who went to some distant land, and is a doctor by the name of John H. Wilson. So sad, no! Court will now hear. Trial of Junosuke Naruhodo. Kindly state the court. Before the court, the name of the victim in this case. The victim's name was Dr. John H. Wilson. That's right. Visiting professor of medicine at Imperial Yume University. And the man who, in the most bizarre of circumstances, lost his life just before we left Japan. Miss Susato. Yes. Perhaps we shouldn't pursue this conversation any further at this time. I think that would be for the best. Ah, my dear fellows. How good to see you. Mr. Sholmes. Why ever did you not make your presence known to me before? Well, no matter now. So, how the devil are you? We have been with you for most of the day. Goodness, really? Do tell me, Mr. Sholmes, is your violin unscathed? My violin? Whatever you're talking about, dear madam. Oh, never mind that now. I have something far more interesting to show you. Behold, my dear fellows. Oh, another music box disc. No, not another disc, Miss Susato. This is the one Gregson demanded we hand over as evidence, Mr. McGilden's disc. Oh my! Then, what's it doing here? You know, at times, Mr. Naruhodo, I think that though I have an undeniable turn for detection, I may well even be more adept at larceny. Ew, that would be wonderfully exciting. I'd be your pickpocketing assistant. And Reno could be our go-to lawyer if we ever got caught. Right. Plus, Susie has such a beautiful handwriting, she could write all our menacing crime notifications. Yes, I'd be delighted. I'm just going to pretend this conversation never happened, I think. Hilarious. The music box disc. I don't understand. How did that disc come to be in your possession? I thought Inspector Gregson took it back to Scotland Yard. Quite correct. And that sort of uncompromising attitude is precisely why I carry some of this. That's a bar of caramel, Mr. Sholmes. Your one only friend in times of loneliness, if I'm not mistaken. If you will humor me, my dear fellows, cast your minds back to when the good detective confiscated the disc. I'll be taking that, whatever it is, to McGilda's down to the yard, thank you very much. So hand it over. Oh, yes, of course. If the police demand something as evidence, my dear fellow, we have no choice but to capitulate. It's all yours, Inspector. For the briefest of moments, I had the disc in my hand, did I not? Yes, you did, but I still don't understand. It was at precisely that moment that I summoned my one and only friend into action. I pressed the disc into a pair of bars, like this. That's amazing. The disc and the minuscule producers have made an image in the caramel. Indeed, this caramel was quite exceptional. I developed it myself, you know. Simply making soft for making impressions, but resistant to melting. The result is a precisely controlled solution. How extraordinary! Carrying a pair of these on one's person frequently proves very useful indeed. Take a house key, for example. A simple press in its unique form is duplicated. I can enter anyone's property at will, never without high sucrose nourishment. Yes, it sounds illegal. From the image, I was able to create this. I confess I was most curious to know what manner of music would issue from the disc when played. I am curious too. Do tell us then, Mr. Sholmes. What music does the disc play? Well, unfortunately, I have no idea. No idea. None whatsoever. Are you familiar with the workings of a music box, my dear fellows? No, I'm afraid not. Goodness, you don't know, Bruno? Inside a music box, there's a special metal piece called the comb. That's what produces the sound. Small protuberances pluck the different teeth of the comb as they rotate past it, making different notes. The first is the music box is to be invented using a rotated cylinder with protuberances on it. But over time, a new type of player was produced, which uses discs such as these. With that development, the popularity of music boxes spread far and wide, all around the globe. Why exactly? Because the discs are easy to produce and can be interchanged to facilitate the playing of different tunes. There are a great many firms in Europe now manufacturing music boxes as a result. It is wonderful to be able to enjoy music even when no performers are present. But it is the very success of the invention that means we are now presented with an unsurmountable problem. What do you mean? As you may imagine, the construction of one firm's music box does not match that of another, and we have no way of knowing in which music box this particular disc was designed to be played. There is no resolution to this problem, I'm afraid. It's quite intractable. Ah, I see. So that's why. Naturally, I tested the disc in those few music boxes I have at my disposal. But as you can hear, to no avail. The results are equally unsatisfactory in this one. So, I'm presently engaged in inquiring an example of all the music boxes ever made in Europe. Every single one? That's Hurley for you, always taking things too far. But my dear girl, an unsolved riddle is quite repugnant to my constitution. But surely all the different types in Europe will amount to a huge volume of music boxes, won't it? Yes, that is certainly true, in the worst case. I shall just have to ask you to vacate the active room. What? That's so silly. Magnus McGilden. Also a name I expected to hear again so soon. Yes, it's only been 2 months since that grisly case. Mr. McGilden perishes within hours of the trial's conclusion. Was it the curse of the Reaper? No one knows. Still no. The omnibus was reduced to a pile of ash, not a shred of evidence remained. And within the man's death, the truth about the murder in which he was so intimately involved was buried. even though we successfully established Mr. McGilder's innocence in the trial. The newspapers are still claiming that it remains an unsolved case. The murder of the brickmaker, Mr. Thrice-Fired Mason. In the end, the truth of the matter remains a mystery. We still have no idea what really happened that night. And although Mr. McGilder was found not guilty through my defense, I still don't know if that was the right judgment or not. It would appear the case is not yet closed.
Well, it's time I started getting things ready for dinner, I think. Jenny will be here before long.
Thank you, Iris.
Oh, well, you must let me help you then. Of course, Susie. There's plenty to do.
I think I shall investigate the condition of my faithful performing parcel. Now then, where did I leave it? Let's be a lesson to you, Mr. Sholmes. Never leave anything too precious with the pawnbroker. Yes, you may be right.
Oh, that reminds me of something Mr. Windbag said before. He said that he had a manuscript of Iris's in pawn, didn't he?
Did he? Yes, he definitely mentioned it. Mr. Sholmes' latest tale of otherworldly mystery lies dormant in my storeroom, were his words, I believe.
So you heard about that, did you? I expect you were as incensed as I was. Oh yes, the idea of such a wonderful story languishing in Mr. Windbag's storeroom gathering dust.
My dear madam, I'm quite sure I told you already. The pawnbroker's storeroom is the safest place for it, more secure than a bank's vault.
And what about your Stradivarius, Hurley? Was that safe and secure?
Well, there may be an occasional mix-up, caused by a certain impetuous someone not too far from me now.
Do you have any idea how long it took me to write that Baskerville story, Hurley? Oh, it sounds so exciting. The Hound of the Baskervilles. I should love to read it.
What's going on here? Why does it feel like an icy chill just swept through the room?
Susie! What did you just say? You said The Hound of the Baskervilles. But how could you know the full title? Well, that's...
Oh no. That's because Mr. Settle is such a great fan of all the stories. About Mr. Sholmes, of course.
But Bruno, The Hound of the Baskervilles has never been published.
What?
When I showed Hurley the manuscript, he told me that I wasn't allowed to publish it yet.
I don't understand.
That's why he said that he'd keep it safe. That it was the right time for the story to be made public, you see.
So that's why the manuscript is at Windibank's?
And yet, how could Susie here know its title?
Well, Hurley,
what's going on?
Oh. What is it, Mr. Sholmes? It would appear our guest has arrived.
Miss Lestrade.
This was a bad idea. I knew I won't welcome. I'm going.
No, wait, Miss Lestrade.
We've all been eagerly awaiting your arrival.
Haven't we, Iris? Oh yes, just wait here, Ginny. We'll have everything ready in a jiffy. Come along, Susie. Right, of course. It's a pleasure to see you here, Miss Lestrade. Please, make yourself at home.
Don't stand in the doorway, my dear girl. Come on in. Come along in. What say you to some Mendelssohn? I won't take no for an answer. Mendelssohn it is, then.
Oh, cat.
Meow. That evening, Iris prepared us all a meal that was even more delicious than usual. Mr. Holmes's violin performance was in no way meddlesome, and Gina, as they all came to call her, taught us all how to steal things from one another without being noticed. Everyone thoroughly enjoyed themselves well into the night. April 15th, 9:34 p.m. Naruhodo's legal consultancy. That was a very enjoyable evening, wasn't it?
Oh yes, Iris's cooking was truly divine.
And I feel as though I can still hear the enchanting strains of Mr. Solm's violin, even now.
Best of all, I bet I could steal the glasses from his lordship's face next time we're in court.
Naruhodo-san, could I consult with you about something, I wonder? What's the matter, Susato-san? It's about the telegram I received. Ah, the one that arrived first thing this morning, I suppose. I've been summoned. What? Summoned? What do you mean? The telegram was from the Lord Chief Justice's office. Lord Strongheart has asked to see me. The Lord Chief Justice? When? Tomorrow morning. What? Then we have to start preparing at once. Oh, no. That won't be necessary, Naruhodo-san. I've been summoned alone. Alone? What on earth for? I have no idea. I suppose I shall find out tomorrow. What's all this about? Whatever it is, it's making me feel very uneasy. Oh, who could that be, I wonder?
Good evening, friends.
Ah, Iris. Hello again.
And Gina, too. Yes, Ginny's going to stay with us tonight. She's going to sleep in with me. Isn't that right, Ginny?
Well, yeah.
How lovely. Let me make a pot of tea. You know, I read so much today.
Oh, what in particular?
All those things Ginny showed us, wasn't it wonderful?
Ah, you mean all those pickpocketing techniques. We had fun trying them out on each other, didn't we?
I think it'll awaken a natural talent. I could earn a living from it.
You might be getting ahead of yourself a little there. So, what brings you up to our humble quarters at this late hour?
Well, you see, I came to return this.
Wait, what? That's mine!
Oh my! However did you... I told you, didn't I? I have a natural talent for it.
Oh, yes, I'd forgotten. Iris literally is a child genius.
So anyway, yeah, you can have it back. Not that I really understand why you wear it, though.
Ah, thank you.
Alright then, good night.
Yes, good night.
So this is your office, is it? What do you think, Ginny?
I think I won't fancy any chances with a royal what lives in a place like this.
Yes, me too.
It seems as though Iris here still has something she'd like to talk about. I suppose she probably wants to talk about the manuscript. Yes, I suppose she probably does. Iris, I suppose you're hoping to talk about the manuscript, aren't you?
Aren't you going to tell me?
I'm so sorry. I need a little more time, please.
Alright, I understand. I hope I haven't made you feel awkward.
Oh no, not at all, Iris, not at all. I don't know what all this is about really, but it's a story you made up. is it, Iris? This manuscript or whatever you call it?
It's not exactly a story I made up. It's something I read in Daddy's diaries.
Daddy's?
That's right. I don't suppose I've mentioned it to you before, Ginny, but my daddy was Hurley's assistant once, his partner.
Eh?
They solved all sorts of strange and mysterious cases together.
Is that right, mister? Apparently so. I was surprised as you are, though.
And Daddy wrote all the details of every single case down, you see, in his diaries. So I study them and write my stories based on what actually happened.
So, where's your old man now, then?
He had to go away on urgent business to a faraway land, and he'll be gone a very long time. So, I never really met him.
Oh, right. Come to think of it. I don't know anything about Gina's parents either. Perhaps we should ask her. Iris, this Hound of the Baskerville story. I take it that's another tale inspired by your father's accounts?
That's right. I thought it was fascinating. But it's different somehow, from the other cases I mean.
Oh, how?
I don't really know, but it must be special in some way. Because after I'd written it and I'd showed the manuscript to Hurley, it turned as white as a sheet. It was the first time I've ever seen him like that.
It pains me to have to say this after you told over it for so long, Iris. But this story must not be published at this time, under any circumstances.
Why not? It's one of my best works.
I'm not at liberty to say, not now. So please, do not ask me.
Alright then, I won't.
But I do solemnly swear that I will explain everything one day, Iris, when the time is right. And that's how the manuscript came to be with Mr. Windbank, is it?
Yes. Hurley said that it had to be somewhere very safe.
That really gets my goat, that does. It's treating you like a child. It's mean, that's what it is, keeping secrets like that. I'm sure Mr. Sholmes isn't trying to be mean. Eh? If he said he wasn't at liberty to talk about it, I'm sure there must have been a very good reason.
I think so too.
So, you lot are too trusting for your own good. I can't be pulled the wool over my eyes. Sholmes is lying to Iris. I bet my life on it. What?
Hurley's lying to me.
I realize I don't know anything about your parents, Gina.
I got any, have I? Never did have.
Oh. Look, the East End's full of orphans like me. No one wants nothing to do with us. From the minute we were born, not even our mums. But we all stick together. The older ones look after the little ones and make sure they get by. So that's why you're a pickpocket. Nah. Diving's my life. I love it. I get a kick out of it every time I lift some pompous idiot's purse. And that's how we've all afford to eat. I'm like Robin Hood, ain't I? That's how I see it. Oh, Gina. I do think about sometimes what it would be like to have parents, I mean. I always thought it'd make everything right. But have a listen to what Iris just said. It sounds like having parents ain't always easy either.
Oh.
I mean, if you know you never had them, you don't feel like you're always wanting to meet them.
It's true. I do want to see Daddy. So much.
Oh, Iris. Gina, what did you mean when you said, Mr. Sholmes is lying to Iris? Well, he reckons he popped that mental script or whatever, right? But come on, that's obviously a load of rubbish. Oh my! Why would you think that, Gina? It's simple. If that story was really in old Winterbank's storeroom, there's no way someone halfway around the world, in other words you, could know about it. Ah. Sorry, Iris, but if you ask me, he sold it. Without telling you. But Hurley would never do something like that. I'm sure of it. Ha. Grown-ups do a lot worse than that, believe me. Barefaced lies, a lot of them. You ain't just realised it yet. I'm telling you, that mantle script ain't at Winterbank's. You'd soon see if you had a look. Even if you think you can't trust him, I don't. That Sholmes is a liar like the rest of them. If I'm honest, I've wondered if Hurley's telling me the truth sometimes. See? Oh, but I don't mean that I think he sold it. I mean that I sometimes wonder if he might have hidden my manuscript somewhere. Somewhere I don't know. Even though it's wrong of me to doubt him. Don't be too hard on yourself, Iris. Oh my goodness, look at the time. Come along, Ginny. We should go back downstairs. Yeah, alright. And please, don't mention any of this to Hurley, will you? No, of course not. Good night then, Iris. Good night, Gina. You must let me make breakfast for you tomorrow morning, I insist. Oh, yes, please. I can't wait, Susie. Good night then. Iris. It sure is easy to forget, isn't it? Sometimes she speaks just like an adult. But deep down, she's still just a child. Well, I think it's time that I turned in for the night too, Naruhodo-san. Dr. John H. Wilson, Iris' father. But also, the name of the murdered visiting professor at Yume University. It can't be a mere coincidence. There's something deeper going on. Naruhodo. Mr. Naruhodo. That voice. That's Mr. Sholmes. What's going on in the middle of the night? It's Mrs. Strahd. She's gone. Gina? She was supposed to be sleeping in Iris's room, but her bed is empty. Well, she's an independent young woman. She'd probably decide to go home, no? I think not. From speaking to her before she retired, I received the distant impression that she was looking forward to breakfasting with Miss Susato. No, I don't believe the girl has gone home, but I've been waiting for an hour now. Over an hour? Oh. If you'll indulge me, look out the window, my dear fellow. What's this about? Wait a minute, why is there a light on at this time of night? That's Mr. Winterbank's pawnbrokery. Mr. Winterbank's? Oh no. It's simple. If that story was really in old Winterbank's storeroom, there's no way someone halfway around the world, in other words, you could know about it. Sorry, Iris, but if you ask me, he sold it. Without telling you. Could Gina have gone? It seems you have some knowledge of the situation, Mr. Naruhodo. Sorry? Oh no. No, not really. Well, anyway, we must investigate. At once. Mr. Sato. 16th April, 1:14 a.m. Baker Street. Oh man. Okay. So I've been streaming for 3 hours, and I think this is a good place to stop with a little sort of cliffhanger ending. But yeah, we'll continue this next time. So yeah. Oh man, this game is so fun, and I can't believe we're almost done with the first game already. But this last chapter should be pretty exciting, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.